I was sitting in the cafe of a building where I worked, and this person came in from outside who was pushing a shopping cart. As he walked into the building, the people behind the counter immediately began, raising their voices at him. So obviously he had been there before, and it did not go well. After about 15 seconds, he was sitting at a table, still kind of disagreeing with them, and I decided I would sit down and talk to him. I said, "Hey, my name is David," just really casually like that. "What's your name?" He said, "Matt." He went from 90 to 10 in a second, which was really interesting in and of itself. He continued going on with them, but having a lucid conversation with me. He began to tell me about his mother. He had a really good relationship with his mother. At this point, he started to say some misogynistic things to the woman behind the counter. And I turned to him and said, and again, a very casual voice, I said, "Do you think your mother would approve of you talking to her like that?" At which point he stopped with those types of comments, which was a second interesting thing. I continue on for another 30 seconds or so, and things began to escalate with the people behind the counter. I couldn't stop them, but he was very controllable and manageable. Granted, I know they had a valid complaint. After about another 30 seconds, things kind of got out of control. He became very upset. At that point, he stopped and he picked up the chair that he was sitting in and held it over his head. And I was about 6 feet away from him, and he was about to throw it down, and he literally stopped while he was talking to me, turned around, and threw it down behind him, so it bounced. At that point, he had had enough, and I guess they had too, and he left the building. But that image of him holding a chair over his head is just frozen in my mind. Here is a person who seemingly was, crazy. They weren't in control, but somehow he knew what he was doing and going on. Maybe he had issues controlling himself. But he was able to know that he was going to hurt me. I was a friendly person. It wasn't, disrespecting him in any way. And that he wasn't going to, harm me. So, I kind of believe there's no such thing as crazy. If you have the ability to do so, I think you can talk someone down from anything. This is not something I would recommend anyone to do. And I could certainly have gotten hurt myself. But, I think it's just an interesting story for people to understand that when you see someone in the street, you still have the possibility to get through to them.